Hello, all you vault dwellers out there. You are listening to Rereading. Brought to you by Vault 420, recorded in The Coop. Attention, all you vault dwellers and wastelanders out there. We're coming back at you with rereading Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. We're continuing on with Chapter 6. My notes here. Well, I'm Ross. Hi. We'll introduce ourselves again. We got Ross around the table.
Britt.
Rachel.
Leah.
And we're back at you, the Vault Dwellers. Chapter 6, the first note I have was Errol again, the Elder Weasley Owl.
The Elder Weasley Owl.
That's what.
He's called. No, I think it's just their owl.
Yeah. Well,
The
they
Elder
have
Owl.
other ones, I think, but it's well, no, because he's still around later, and they get that little guy, the little like pygmy one.
Yep.
But he passes
What?
out or knocks himself out unconscious at the beginning of this chapter.
Regularly, yeah.
Like, yeah, and so like that's. I'm not sure why I wrote that down. What was that exactly entailing?
That it's
but-
just always like
Seems to be his
messed
thing.
up,
Yeah,
like-
yep.
Hanging
Dude's
on by a
drunk all
thread.
the time.
Lockhart was actually coming back to herbology class, the first one they had.
He's a creep.
Yeah, well, and he was like walking and telling the students he was just showing Professor Sprout the right way to Dr. Whomping Willow, and Sprout like just does not seem herself, obviously visibly annoyed by having to just deal
Visibly
with Locke.
injured as
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
visibly injured as well.
I think they all deep down know he's a fake.
Yeah,
though.
yeah, but then
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
it's
the
it's
teachers.
Gilderoy Lockhart. What are you gonna do? You know, kind of a thing. It seems like. So, as he kind of pumps himself up, obviously, gives big narcissistic vibes. I have noted here, and that's by this point, it's already seen that like any chance he gets, he's gonna make it about him, what he's teaching, how he's helping out the less privileged or the less knowledgeable. He'll even say stuff like that, and it comes off very pompous. And but that's really shows how much he pumps himself up, because we all know the fake he really is.
They do his voice really well in the audio too.
Oh,
like
do
they
they?
make it very like, it's
Very
like Harry,
pompous.
Harry,
that's
Harry,
right.
like very like
Yeah.
just a fucking douche.
Yeah.
You just know it. You just can see it and feel it.
Well, and that's I think the character in the movie too portrayed that really well. The actor.
Oh yeah, he did a
just
great
that-
job.
Yeah.
How
I-
was the audio version of the Howler?
Molly's Howler.
Yeah.
That's how this chapter opens up, I think, is
I don't-
receiving the Howler.
Yeah, because that's what the owl's
Oh,
delivering.
not as good as the movie.
Really?
No,
Lame.
Yeah.
no.
The
Not
movie's
as good as the
awesome.
movie.
The movie's like iconic.
What up?
Yeah,
Weasley?
yep. That's what
How dare you steal that car?
yeah.
No, it was not. It was not as good because it's a male voice the whole time.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
So, which is fine. I'm
Yep.
fine with that. He does change the voices up enough, but you don't get the Mrs. Weasley voice and the vibe from a
Yeah,
male
from
voice.
the
I don't
yeah.
care how they do it.
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
He does
But-
he probably does the male voices and changes those up for female
Correct.
characters, just probably reads them then.
He changes it up a little bit, but it's just not
A
enough that
softer,
it
maybe a little
that
bit
it does
softer.
it doesn't give the Mrs. Weasley vibe.
Yeah, yep.
The book did a good job of, I say the book because I'm trying to like ignore the author. So the book is its own entity, but it says the Howler shook dust from the ceiling, which
It's
is just
lot
a
of
really good way to
screaming.
describe, like how fucking loud
Yeah.
Molly is.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that no one
She's
heard
me.
Didn't hear it.
She's me.
Yeah, exactly.
She's me.
Everyone.
Yes,
I
yes,
realize these
yep.
books. She's me. As a mother, how I'd be as a witch. You know, I'd be sending Evelyn those frickin' howlers at school. You
Oh, yeah.
like she's me.
Love it.
I think that Professor Sprout gave it like 20 points to Hermione. That seemed like a
Yeah.
lot to me.
Okay, so I thought about that the same. I like how we do things at camp
Yeah,
and how
yep.
it's like
The
every
points, yeah.
the points giving out points. Everyone's gonna be different. They're
Different,
gonna
yep.
do it a different way, but
Yep.
as long as you're consistent, it's fine.
It should be fine across the board then.
Exactly, because I was
And,
comparing Sprout
yeah,
to
yep,
like
yep,
McGonagall.
exactly,
I was
yep.
like, that doesn't.
That's a lot of points to be given
Yeah.
out for two simple questions. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
yeah, and I think Lockhart gives out quite a bit of points too, just because if anybody floats his boat and knows
In this
to
book,
kind
the
of pump his head
points
up,
aren't as relevant.
talked about. Yeah, no,
or
they don't.
as
They don't.
as oh my gosh, we need to earn points to win at the end.
Yeah, yep.
It's
the
not
House
as
Cup is just not as
As important
prevalent.
this one. Yeah, you're right. Yep. No.
and it almost couldn't be
yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
because of the danger in the school. I mean, it was the
Yeah.
last
Anybody
thing on
was
people's
worried
minds.
about anything else besides Lockhart.
Besides,
Obviously,
yeah.
Lockhart's worried about himself. But if anybody was worried about,
Well, in
like,
the first book,
winning.
you had the big evil being what is going after. They figured Snape is going after the Sorcerer's Stone. They were the only ones to know about
Exactly.
it. Everybody else was ignorant.
Yep.
This time around, we have
That's a good point.
everybody
Yep.
in the school is scared of what's going on. It's
Yep.
affecting everybody.
Yeah, which makes it
Um,
harder for them to sneak around and
Yeah,
try and
yep.
figure out
No,
what's
it's
going
actually because everyone's being watched.
on. Yep.
There's a lot of that. Justin Finch Fletchley gets introduced. A
Wha-
Hufflepuff boy.
Yeah. Why do I not remember him from the movies like at all?
He was
So-
the one that in the that the snake
The dueling club.
dueling club.
But he's never introduced.
But that's
you
it
don't
though.
find out his
That's
name.
it though.
yeah, you hear about
Yeah.
him more in the books. There's
But
a
you
lot of
don't-
characters like this.
Because
that
I
you hear
have a
more
note
the
about
books.
him getting petrified, and
Yep.
I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't remember him in the movie at fucking all.
I don't
Yeah.
think you see him petrified in the movie.
No.
You see who like is supposed to be him in the
He's-
dueling club, but you don't like you're not introduced to
You're
him.
not
that you find
introduced
out
like
his
that.
name.
Okay, I
No.
thought
Plus,
I
like
was
other
losing my damn
characters, too.
mind.
Like there's a Slytherin girl. I'm trying to think what her name is. I think it's the one that Malfoy ends up marrying, actually. But you see her in the movies, and there's a girl that plays her, but they don't ever mention the name. So the movies has some of these characters. They don't do a good job of like explaining who the character is. They don't really have to because the character doesn't really play that pivotal.
They don't really
Heart-
matter that much.
Yeah. The book just gives more.
It's allowed to.
explanation.
It's
Yeah.
allowed to. Yeah.
When you see a lot more, like I say, there's a lot more of these. Like this is the last time we hear about Justin. Like he comes up, I think, in later books too. So, Harry voices how at the beginning of school felt like he forgot everything over summer. I've been there. That was a really relatable thing. Just being in the classes, even in Transfiguration, just struggling, trying to get back moving again, and feeling like, oh man,
Be
like
over
I
a
lost
weekend.
it. Yeah, yeah. Like it's. I remember that feeling in school after coming after summer, like when you first got going with school again. That feeling of overwhelmed, like, oh shit, like this is
Routine,
work.
yeah.
This is.
Mhm.
So I think that that's a really relatable thing. Remembering being a
very-
kid.
I was like excited.
Not Rachel talking about her 4.0, and you were probably doing math problems in the summer.
I was not.
You didn't have a workbook.
No, I didn't. But I was like excited to go school supply shopping.
Yeah, you were
Oh,
right
I
before
like
school.
that. 'cause
Yeah,
that's
yep.
like,
was ready for school to start
yeah.
Yeah.
when it did.
I was always excited too, but it wasn't for school. It was because I had my
to be a problem.
yeah, yep. I had my stage. I had my friends.
Your
So-
You have
stage.
to find an audience. that's
Yeah,
provided
my
for you.
audience was right there. They had to listen to me. So
Where it
Everyone's
all
stuck in
began
the
for
same-
Ross.
that's
Speaking of like characters, we're introduced to Colin.
Colin
Creevey.
Creevy. I was
Yeah.
just gonna say Colin Creevy is the next character that gets introduced.
So you see him being like way more of an annoying little fuck
Yeah, in the
than
book.
he
Yeah.
was back
Oh,
in the
100%.
movie.
He does. The
That's-
first thing I have noted, like that he shares knowledge, is that the moving pictures
Yeah.
they move because they're developed in a special potion.
That was cool.
Yep.
I was like, what? This whole time I am
Yeah.
a photographer, and
Yeah.
I never
Caught
flagged
that
that.
part
I
of
was like,
it.
that's
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I want that.
Yep. So
But in the
it's-
first movie, they make it seem like, because Ron says, well, you don't expect him to stand there all day. They
Yeah.
make it
There.
seem like
Yep.
they're
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Well, that's all they've
Yep.
known, though. As a kid, that's all the pictures he's ever known. He looks at a still picture and probably thinks, what kind of sorcery is this?
Or what?
Why aren't they
Yeah, like,
moving?
what's the point of
Like,
this shit?
I have a question now because this is a pictures moving, right? And
Yeah.
like, they don't stay there all day. And now we talk about the paintings, and they
Moving.
move. So
Yep.
is that potion the same to make the paint? The paint that You know what I mean?
Or you think of when you die,
Mm-hmm.
Harry's picture of his mom and dad dancing in that fall whatever
Oh,
on his
yeah.
nightstand.
Yep.
Do they never move because they're dead?
And they stay there because they're
And
dead.
they're
They have
or-
nowhere else to be.
Like,
Interesting.
or why don't they just disappear? Like, is there
Mhm.
any soul connection to be in the photo?
Well, and
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
like the previous like the big thing is after a headmaster dies, their portrait goes in the headmaster's office,
right.
and then it's almost like they're there for advice.
And you can talk to
And
them.
you can talk
their
to them.
Correct.
essence
So
is
you
there.
must.
And
They must not leave the photos once.
yeah, but with those paintings, there's a lot here. I mean, I'm sure there's inconsistencies.
I'm wondering if there's
Plot
like a special,
holes.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if it's painted, if it's a
painted,
a
Yeah,
spell.
or a charm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, that after they pass in
Exactly.
Hogwarts, that someone set that up, or okay, now you always have the previous.
Well, and but they can move
headmasters and
pictures. Look at
headmistresses to
the
talk
fat
to
lady.
in your
Yeah.
office.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
they'll
But
say,
the
like,
fat
oh,
lady left her picture
Yep.
and went and hid in the
And-
safari
Others-
one.
Yeah, they can.
Mhm.
Yep, they can move
Yeah.
around in
Well,
each
and,
other's
like,
stuff too.
The order uses like, oh, go to your portrait at
Yep. And
you
the
know
other.
Grimmauld Place.
exactly.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
that's
they have your
right.
portrait
Exactly.
at
Yeah,
Hogwarts or
yep.
whatever. So there's a lot more.
Passing
to it.
messages
Yeah. Yep.
between portraits and stuff.
Speaking of portraits and this book's, when Harry is in a picture with Lockhart that Colin takes, this kind of talks about like, is it them? Is it their essence in the photo? Because
Yeah,
when it's described when the photo is taken, I mean, Lockhart gets him in a chokehold basically
and gets them
for
in
the
frame.
for the picture.
Yeah.
But then when they talk about what the picture after it was developed, what it
Yeah.
looks like, it is very clear that Harry is like trying to escape
The
Lockhart.
picture.
So I
too.
think that it might just be like it captures like it is an essence of something
Yeah, of the
because that
moment,
wasn't
yeah.
technically what happened. Like
Yep.
they did get the picture,
Yep.
but Harry was so fucking uncomfortable and wanted out of there that's what
'Cause
after
he's
it
a
was developed, that was
creep.
what was
Yeah.
portrayed. So yeah, that's
and
what-
he's like out of frame. You only see like the corner of
Exactly.
Harry, and he's like pulling away while Lockhart's trying to pull him into the frame in the photo, actually.
right.
But like you say, I noticed that too because in the actual picture, he gets them like
Mhm.
it's in frame, so they don't make it sound like he didn't get it. You know.
Exactly. Yep.
Lockhart gives a test about.
Himself.
Yeah.
Woo!
And they're all. It's all about the things he likes and all that. It's like not even the important information from the books. It's about him, furthering the showing of his narcissism. You guys have anything more for chapter 6?
No.
All right, chapter 7. Harry has woken up super early for Quidditch practice. This is the first we see of Oliver's new tactics to just they got so close the year before. He sees it, he wants it, and we see that from here on out with him. That he really is pushing and pushing now more so than he was the first year to get them where they need to be. And he has them all waking up early. Most of them are falling asleep, not listening to what's going on. Colin Creevey meets Harry as he's heading towards practice, constantly stopping Harry to talk, and is completely obsessed with him. We hear about that earlier. You mentioned how much more annoying he is. Yeah, and so we hear about that Quidditch practice. That was kind of something I don't know that we see in the movie. Yeah, we see
That's
them
when they
heading
roll up.
towards.
But that's when they
practice.
roll up.
Yep.
Yeah, they roll
Yep.
up with the
Oh,
Nimbus.
I
They never
thought-
make it to the pitch.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, a note that I had was that how they describe Oliver Wood
Yeah,
as
yep.
like a burly,
Burly,
whatever.
yeah.
And I'm like, he's
Guy.
a skinny
Yeah,
little
he's a
twerp.
twerp
Yeah.
in the movie. Yep.
Why did I
Yeah.
think he was so hot as a kid?
As- like the character, yeah.
I
Or
know.
the movie. Yeah.
Yuck.
Yeah, that's
I know.
I think that like I say, you see a lot more of the fire in him though. He's got that Eye of the Tiger this year.
I also noticed that Fred and George stand up to Wood
Yeah. Yep.
quite
Yeah.
a bit.
Yeah, as opposed to the other ones, they just listen to him.
Yeah, they're
Yep.
like Wood, like, and you see it later too. They kind of yell at Wood for saying certain things to Harry, but they definitely are more leaders
Yep.
in the books than they are like in the movies where
Yep.
they just kind
They're
of
just a
fuck off
comic
and-
relief in
Yeah.
the movie or
Yep.
in the movies.
Yeah.
No, you definitely see the Weasleys
love
were
Fred and
just that,
George.
like you say, they were great leaders, and you see that later on. They were entrepreneurs, they were business starters, they They
They
were
had
already
vision.
figuring shit out back then in their rooms. That's why the explosions were happening, you know.
They had vision. They just, like we were just, it's you at school. you know, like you have the smarts, the everything. It's just the environment, and people thrive differently in different environments.
The Owls, I think, were, and that's, I think, like Ron even says, thank God for the Twins, because otherwise he'd be held under such a microscope if they did well too. I don't remember if that's mentioned in this one or later on, but like where he's kind of like, oh, the Twins have kind of paved the way of, because
He does
everybody
say it in
else
this one.
before
He says it in this one, yeah.
before that, like you had Bill and Percy and Charlie, and all of them. I don't think
Bill
that.
and Percy got the 12 OWLs.
Yeah,
And
yep,
yeah.
yep.
Yep.
And then Charlie, I think, was just obsessed with dragons early
Right.
on. and
Outdoors and
Animals.
outdoors,
Yep.
and he was a Quidditch player. If I think he was one of the better Quidditch players too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you hear more about them later, but like they all were such high achieving, like people, so that the Twins came through, and everyone kind of looked at them as fuck offs. But we find out later, no, they found their own way, you know. So even they were leaders in their own right, with which just seems to be a Weasley kind of trait almost. You see it out of Ron every now and again too. I mean, Harry's he's in Harry's shadow, but he really steps up later on big time where he becomes more of a leader.
I have a note on Ron too, coming up next, like him being passionate about something. You kind of see him as going along with things, like you said.
Yeah, most of the time, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
he's a younger brother too, so
Right.
yeah.
But he feels very strongly about, like, the next point that I have here is we learn what mudblood, the term mudblood is.
Yep.
And in this entire book, there are so many points when this is brought up, when wizards feel like purebloods, all that talk of
The
some
perfect
wizards
wizard.
being better than other wizards. And Ron gets pissed, and
Yep.
he speaks his mind every time. And you
Was
don't
obviously
see
taught
that
to
a
him.
lot. Yeah.
Well, and my note about that is that in the movie, Hermione says in the mudblood situation where he's like, it called her a mudblood, and then saying like it's a really foul thing to call someone, whatever. And in the book, it's Ron
Yep.
going on this kind of tangent about what it is and what it means. And in the movie,
And how shitty
Hermione
it is.
says it.
Yep.
He
exactly.
doesn't.
Yeah,
he doesn't
see-
really say
'Cause
a
it
whole lot.
sounds
She doesn't even
smart.
know what it means.
It sounds really smart.
Yeah, yep.
So it didn't in the
They
movie.
didn't-
It makes sense why they made Hermione
Yeah,
say
yep,
Yep.
because it's yep.
But yeah, it's that's that. I was just shocking every time. Every time
Yep.
Ron had something to say about it, it was
Yep.
like, dude,
I don't
feels
think
really
the books
strongly
would talk
this.
about that stuff neither, like mudbloods and terms like that. So the fact that Hermione would have known what that was based off a
She
book.
didn't. Oh, she didn't know.
She didn't
yeah.
in the books,
Right.
but in the movie, like you say, it shows her as knowing that.
Yeah.
Well,
and
how
they,
would she?
They
Right.
mention the word just more in the book. in
Yeah,
my
the
opinion.
book. Oh yeah, mudblood.
Than they did in the movie.
Just making fun of her and the others for it. Like Malfoy's malicious about it. Well, that's
He's-
Malfoy malicious. I think she did that with names. That was one of the things that Scholastic said to look for is names and how they fit the character.
Yeah.
So what else I have is we saw when Ron puking up slugs, but when they go to Hagrid's, Lockhart was leaving Hagrid's because he was actually giving him some info about the animals. I forget what he tells him, but being a pompous ass once again. And
But do you feel like Lockhart was just like there for like
Yeah.
stupid shit?
yeah,
Oh,
yep.
like almost following Harry. I felt like,
Yeah.
like I felt like he just was a cockroach.
Yeah.
Yep. Trying to feed off of his fame and stuff.
Yes.
Well, and that was where we hear that from Hagrid, is Hagrid really rips on Lockhart for not being as famous because he goes and talks to him like, oh, I've been showing Harry how to do this and, and talking him down. And like Hagrid's the one that's like, he's more famous than you and he's not even trying.
Mhm.
Like, I
He's
didn't even
straight-
know who
yeah.
you were until you came here, and he tells him that.
I love
and I think
Hagrid.
that, like,
Yeah.
we don't hear that, but we hear Hagrid's retelling of that,
Mhm.
So I think that there's definitely, I think the teachers are noticing more and more that
And
Lockhart's
speaking
just
of
an idiot.
Hagrid, I do feel like there was definitely a character shift where in this one he didn't seem as dumb, as drunk as
as the first one.
in the
What
first
he's
one.
Yeah.
made out to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And we don't hear from him nearly as much. He
No.
still cares. But I think he's just becoming more of a back. There's other characters now. And he's just kind of
He's a consistent. He's
He's
still being
consistent.
a
He's there.
fatherly
Yep,
figure.
yep.
I wrote in this part that Hagrid gives Harry shit for handing out signed photos.
Yep,
Like,
hearing
acting
about
like
that.
he
Like
believed
multiple
it.
times. Multiple
Exactly.
times brings it up, giving him shit.
and being like
okay,
sarcastic,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And he knew. He's like, "Well, I know that you didn't actually." And then even more shit after that about Ginny being obsessed with him.
Yeah, yep.
I was
I
like,
bet
Yeah.
she wouldn't
Maybe
say
she-
no to
yeah,
a
They
she
signed
was
photo.
saying, oh, yeah, yep.
I felt that was a note I just made in general, is that they definitely in the book portrayed Jenny liking him a lot more
A
than
lot
they did
more.
in the
There's
movie.
been a crush there
Yes.
for
Oh,
a
yeah.
long time.
Yes.
Where in the movie it was
Yep.
kind of the one scene when he gets
Yep.
there where she kind of hid away,
Hid
but
away.
then you really don't get a crush vibe from
No.
her the rest of the movie.
You hear a little
Exactly.
bit, I think, because she's been talking about you all summer. Is
That's
all you
it.
hear, yeah.
But then in the
Yeah.
book, I feel like it's brought up
She's
multiple
there, yeah.
times that
Every
she's
time
smitten
she's
for him.
brought up,
Yep.
it's something to do with that.
"Yep, it's that she's obsessed." Yeah, I had a thought. Oh, the Valentines. Do you guys? It never specified, but do you think the Valentine, the singing one, telegram that Harry got, was that actually from Ginny?
Or they
They said it was.
They
The
did
way.
say?
Where?
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, and they said something about it. Someone gives her shit about it,
I think it's
and
was it Draco?
I think it was somebody just
That's what I
making
mean,
a
like, being mean,
connection.
like
Yeah.
someone might have did it from her as a joke.
well, I don't know if you know who it's from, but
Yeah.
they're just saying
Malfoy was like,
Oh,
"Oh, it's
got your
probably from Ginny."
Valentine
Yeah.
or something,
Exactly.
whatever. But we
Yeah.
Well,
don't
her
know.
reaction was what I thought gave it away.
Yeah,
though.
but like it was because
her
Malfoy
crush.
was
Yeah.
vocalizing
Yeah.
if it was or
Yeah.
wasn't from her. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't think it was ever really confirmed.
No.
and
I
so
don't know. I
wonder,
had
yeah.
assumed. I guess.
I think they kind of want you to assume.
Yeah,
but
yep.
it's something that isn't like fully confirmed.
I don't know if that ever comes up later, neither. But
Mhm.
I think there's a few things that she kind of leads a little bit, and then I don't know if it ever unfolds or not. It's been so long. Well, and actually, Hagrid mentions Ginny wandering around the grounds. Like he noticed her wandering around a lot,
hoping to run.
hoping to
in.
run into him or
Mhm.
whatever. But so she's obviously wandering around, not making friends. You know what I mean? Like that's
think-
why she's writing in a diary. We find out
Mhm.
later. You know.
about her. Well, yeah, Tom. Yeah, later kind of tells us a little bit more of Ginny's perspective throughout the whole book,
Right.
rather than. You never really hear directly from Ginny. It's always through somebody else's eyes, like what she's going through this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yep.
We never hear from
Until
her.
like the very end. You
Very
get a little
end, you hear
glimpse.
from her
Exactly.
actually
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
little bit. And
Yeah.
So then after they visit Hagrid, they go in. They get scooped up by McGonagall right away, and they are made to do their
Detention.
detentions. And Harry's is writing back for fan mail, going through fan mail with Lockhart
Hey,
as a punishment.
Did we ever talk about the Whomping Willow?
The Whomping Willow? No, I don't know if we ever covered
We
the Whomping
never
Willow.
talked about it.
No,
I'm
we
just
kind of glazed
realizing.
over it. Yeah.
Because it's so obvious
and
in
it's-
the movie,
yeah, in the
right?
movie,
And like in
yep.
the book,
and it's
yes,
pretty
it
to
happens.
it's pretty to the book. The
Right.
movie is
Right, but I'm realizing the reason they have detention is because
of the Whomping
because of the
Willow.
Whomping
Yep,
Willow. Well,
yep.
part of you're right. They
The crashing of the
yeah.
car, the grand
Scene.
entrance is
exactly.
what it's looked as.
So it's been a minute since that's
Yeah.
happened, and they're just now finally getting their
Getting their
detention that they
detention.
earned for that.
Yep.
Okay.
So we see this is the first time Harry hears come to me, let me rip you, let me tear you, let me kill you. And
And this is where I thought it was going to get spicy.
And you guys said there was no spice. No, but honestly, like that one really, as far as like words usage there,
It's a
it
little
was like,
intense.
wow. Like, one, it's,
But when you're in like 7th grade.
yeah, and reading it, like, it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, these are scary words, you know?
But like, do they do those in the movie? Because I thought it was just like the.
You hear it go like, kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. Like, you
Dude,
just hear, like,
that's the one that Evelyn, my daughter, won't watch. 11 years old.
Oh,
That
it's-
one
it's
scares the shit out of her.
It's
all the,
got
like,
spiders.
whispering
That's why I
and
don't
shit.
like it.
The
Oh, see, and I
spiders,
love
yeah.
the
I
spiders.
hate the spiders.
The spiders are my favorite part.
I don't know about that one. So, do we have anything else for chapter 7? I think that's
no,
kind of
but
what
chapter
we...
8's my favorite.
Yeah, no, chapter 8 was like a whole new thing that wasn't in the
loved
movie at
it, and I don't remember this at all.
all. The nearly headless Nick, not allowed on the headless hunt. We heard him bitch about that in the first movie. I don't think that was in the first book. But we actually hear a little more about it because he's not completely severed. And when they write him the letter, it's pretty comical actually because his head isn't all the way severed. He's come on now.
Severed.
Severed. There we go.
Nearly headless.
So he's not able to do like the polo, which means they're hitting their heads with mallets and stuff.
Yeah,
and
it makes sense.
it
why
makes
he's
sense why he's
excluded.
not allowed. It's like, well, yeah, because he's not actually headless.
Happening.
You
So,
could,
like-
you could
It's
referee.
happening.
Yeah, he could be a referee or something. They
And-
could include
yeah,
him somehow.
Well, and I know, and that's
Lap
kind of the
his head
vibes
off.
is- yeah, you know.
Yeah.
So you hear more about this, and he wants Harry's help with his 50th death day party. Before that happens,
I love it.
we hear
500,
Filch
isn't
gets
it?
angry at
It's 500.
It's
about
500.
the mud on Harry's shoes and brings him to his office where he sees shackles on the wall. This is a pretty like kinky part of the book so far. We're hearing a lot of
Stop
so-
it
BDSM,
right
yeah.
now.
Harry notices a letter as because there's a loud noise, a loud crash that happens, which is assumed to be Peeves right away. Peeves, and he runs off.
I
And,
love Peeves.
yeah, and a letter actually is out on, and it's about Quick Spell. It's a course that you can take to learn magic quick, and this is what's on Filch's table.
Desk.
Harry sees it. By the time he's able to get it back, because he hears Filch coming back, he puts it back. But Filch does notice that it moved, and he's not quite sure. But the way he verbalizes it, he's like, "I don't know if you read it or not, but whatever you didn't
He
read,"
panics.
and he like just
That-
kind of
that-
He knows. 'Cause
Do you
he said
know-
he realizes too late. It's
Yeah.
2 feet
2
from
feet
where
from
he
where it
had
was,
What
yeah.
an
So
idiot.
I didn't
Yeah.
realize that about him.
that he was a squib.
I
or
did not realize he was a squib. I totally
Yeah.
forgot about it in the movies. I guess I just didn't feel like he needed to use magic for anything or that I'd notice.
What a
It's kind of
turn, too.
sad.
But he's a lot more of a character in the book.
Yeah.
Than he is
Oh,
in the
than he is in the
100%.
movie. They make him a little more of like a scary kind of just a whatever character in the movie, where the book he's got a little more. You're already seeing a little more now in the second book of what a kind of a bumbling kind of person he is, and they portray that more in the fourth movie big time, where they just have him kind of just a comic relief.
Or in
at
the
that
fifth
point.
with Umbridge.
Yeah. He's just at that point he's no longer scary anymore. And he was when the kids were young, because this was oh my god, But like as they get older, he's Filch, he's whatever. And
They get desensitized. It's like,
Desensitized
yeah, when
to
you're
him,
yelled
yeah.
at so much as a kid, and you just kind of like it doesn't. It's not a threat anymore.
he's been here forever.
Mhm.
He's I forget there was I remember the game I played actually mentioned the names. I don't know if that's in the books or anywhere else, but they mentioned names of the people who held that position before him, and that they've always held that same office. That's why they have the shackles. Some headmasters were more okay with the physical torturing of students for discipline, which shows you how medieval and how long this school has been around. That they literally have like the means still on the walls to do this yet in the caretaker's office. So then we find out Nearly Headless Nick was the one that made the noise. He was the one that caused the distraction.
Which-
it wasn't Peeves, which shows like it's pretty cool. You know
The
what I mean?
distraction
Yeah.
is another thing that I noted that they bring up for book 6, the Vanishing Cabinet. They say it was when Nearly Headless Nick explains like
Yeah.
it was a very valuable
Yep.
Yep.
item, and so the Vanishing Cabinet, they bring it up. So that's how it broke. Because in 6,
Yeah.
It's
Malfoy
broken.
has to mend it.
Has to mend it.
So
oh,
this is announcing how
wow.
it broke, right?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I don't remember that, and that'll come up in the book. Then that's what he pushed over.
Connections.
She
Yeah.
comes
Yeah.
full circle with
Yeah,
it for
no,
sure.
that's
Yeah.
cool. So it shows her definitely as a writer being, you know what I mean?
Because all you
Like-
really hear right now is like that. It was very valuable,
Yep.
but it says it mentions that it's a vanishing cabinet.
Yep.
And this is where Nearly Headless Nick now asks Harry to help him with his. Well, I don't know if he asks for help per se, just help with certain things.
he
for
just
his
wants him to
500th
come.
Death Day. He
Harry
wants him to come
offers. Yeah.
and to say things to this like main guy, Sir Patrick.
That
so,
he's
the,
scary.
Very
the
scary,
nearly
yeah.
headless hunt guy.
So now we get to
No,
hear
nearly headless hunt. What?
the Death Day party is at the same time as the Halloween party. A Halloween party is a
Feast,
pretty
yeah.
big shindig for the feast is a pretty big
Yeah.
shindig for Hogwarts.
And they don't do this in the movie.
No, they don't do
No.
this at all. You get to see I think the
He goes to Halloween.
he was the Halloween. Yep. So we actually see him like kind of regretting the choice, but then Hermione telling him, "No, you agreed, you go." So they all go with him, and it is quite the sight they see.
I
As they're-
loved it. I loved it.
As they're getting closer, they feel it get colder and colder, like they're
And like the
already-
rotting
like-
food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like so that they
I
can like
loved
taste
it.
it,
The whole
maybe.
thing.
So they can almost taste it.
Yeah.
Moaning Myrtle.
Moaning Myrtle's there, yep,
Mhm.
where we first meet her. All the other house ghosts are there as well. You hear a little bit about them. Cake was among a bunch of the rancid food that they said had there, but the cake said Sir Nicholas de Mimsey Porpington died 31st of October, 1492. So that's his 500-year anniversary. That makes this year 1992.
I don't like
It's his
that.
500th. Yeah. Yep.
Yep. So this is the year that we're dealing with in the book is 1992. That's why there's no cell phones. That's why there's no, that's
No
kind of
pens?
no pens. No, they're still using quills. This is the 90s we're talking about. Talk to my kids. I'm sure they
The
would say,
1900s.
like, this is way before all this
We
technology.
Everything's in
suffered.
black and white.
Suffered greatly.
Was there sliced bread yet? No, but so that's 1992. That's the year we're dealing with here. This is a dead giveaway then. You know what I mean? Because of what the 1492 500-year anniversary. Simple math.
That gets brought up from time to time on the internet,
On
but then people try to debunk it, going like, I find it hard to believe that if it's set in the 90s and it's middle school age kids and nobody mentions like the Bulls have been on quite a good run. Haven't they?" It's like, so I think maybe this is wrong.
You need to have,
You
to
know,
have one of the, like the Muggle-borns be more obsessed about it. Like come to school with Bulls stuff on
Yeah.
when they all have like
The
That'd
fucking
be-
the Hornet windbreaker.
Yep.
That's actually that would have been a really funny thing for her to do is include like
Like
Muggle,
Muggle, yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
because that would
Yep.
have to be. The kids aren't showing up in cloaks and stuff.
No,
you know, they've
that's-
got
yep.
Muggle clothes.
No, I think she wanted this to be a fantasy world still based in
Yeah,
kind
you
of our
see it
world, but
A little bit in 5, like the way the kids are dressed, like the ones that like Dudley and
oh
Yeah,
yeah, and there's
100%.
movies.
They have,
yep,
like, the
they try to
super
do the
long basketball
90s.
shorts
Yep,
on,
yeah,
like,
they're
chains
trying.
and
Yep,
stuff.
yep,
Yeah.
So
definitely.
you see like little tidbits,
Yep.
but nothing like at school.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
I wrote Peeves because
Peeves,
Peeves
yeah.
is like technically I
He's
don't
not a
know if he
ghost.
was a guest.
He's not a. Oh, yep.
but
might
he
have
was
crashed it.
acting like a guest, yeah. And
Yeah.
like you hear him have a conversation more than you anytime
Yeah,
hear
with
about him
someone
anywhere else, where
else.
he's just like saying little riddles and
Yeah.
making up songs and stuff. He's full on like talking to Hermione, like, "Did I hear you talking about Moaning Myrtle? Should I go get Moaning Myrtle?"
Yeah, he's a
Yeah, yeah,
freaking
yeah.
snake, dude.
Yeah,
Fucks her
yeah.
up.
Yeah.
It's like a full thought out process.
He's
and it's
stirring
like,
the
wow.
pot.
Yeah.
The thing
Yeah.
about Peeves, and I don't know if they mentioned it yet, the lore behind Peeves is he is like teenage angst incarnate. Like he is just pure chaos, and that he is a poltergeist. He is not one of the regular ghosts. These are all people who lived and died. He is not. He is his own thing. He's not like a person that lived. So it's just he became. And there's like different theories behind that. I don't know if she ever officially came out and said something. The game I played though, the kind of story behind it is that he was kind of the just pure like childhood kind of chaos incarnate that would be at a school.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
yeah. So I thought that was kind of a cool thing. I don't know if that's ever mentioned in the books or not, but I've heard that more places than just there. That he
so
isn't a
far,
ghost.
All it just says that he's a poltergeist.
Yeah, he's a
But it
poltergeist.
doesn't go into any
what that
like
is.
differentiation.
Which says
of
in
what
this
that
one
would
though
mean.
that he looks different than the ghosts.
Yeah.
It says he looks different.
But
so
it
you
doesn't
know,
go into like a full explanation.
yeah, yeah.
like-
But what's the difference
Yeah.
there? But they give you little kind of tidbits like this isn't a
Yeah.
one of the normal ghosts.
Because
This
they
is
explain he's not as see-through as the others,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. Yep. So he's something else. He's still transparent. He can still disappear, go through walls and stuff, but he's not like a living person that died. So, yeah. So anything else about the Death Day party? Really?
I just thought it was fun.
The music was like loud screeching noises. I remember that
Yeah.
was like it just was a horrible experience for them, but they showed up for Sir Nicholas. The headless hunt comes, acts like assholes, kind of even. Sir Patrick's a very charismatic individual that likes getting people laughing and like physical props with his head, and I noticed that too. And you could just see right away where Nicholas is
thunder,
more like,
yeah.
oh, this is, like not only do I not get to join them, they show up and ruin everything. So
That's exactly who
you
sounds
see-
inaudible.
yeah. Oh, the way
Yeah.
like it's a ghost. That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Gloomy.
exactly how he
Professor
sounds.
Binns is that way. I picture Binns just kind of talking like this and just kind of.
My next note is on bins, actually.
Yeah, the next chapter.
But yeah, so let's go into chapter 9 then.
Well,
Wait.
this chapter ends with like them finding.
oh yeah, we should mention
Yeah.
Oh,
that.
that's why.
The
Like,
fucking
they
chamber
leave-
of
The
secrets is
chamber.
open. Yeah.
Yeah, like they're leaving to like, oh, maybe we can scrap up some desserts or whatever,
Yeah.
and they hear the voice again. But that's when they find Mrs. Norris.
And they go run and find it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First petrified victim is
Yep.
Mrs. Norris.
And that's they figure out later why that was because she was looking in the puddle because there's water that was there.
Yeah.
You just wrecked the whole thing.
no,
yeah,
it's
no.
when someone said-
We can be done. We're done. Goodbye.
I'm sorry for those of you that are like reading along. Well, you should have read the whole book before listening to this. I think is
We absolutely are not sensitive to
No.
somebody reading this for the first
yeah
time.
yeah
No.
nope. Like this is definitely
Yep.
Where it's going to
This
be
is for veterans.
This is for veterans, people that are rereading, and
Yeah.
like with the stuff coming back out again. And if you are a new reader, I'm sorry if we ruined some of the things for you.
I'm not.
I don't think they're that big, honestly. The things that we're bringing up and stuff.
Well, we're going through chapter by fucking chapter.
I know, I
mean,
know, that's-
they don't even need to read the book.
Yeah, Chapter 9. People start to wonder if Harry is at fault for this.
Yep.
The biggest thing with chapter 9 for me is they ask Professor Binns about it and not McGonagall. In
Yeah.
the movie, they
Well, we
asked
don't know-
McGonagall,
We don't have bins in the movie.
No.
and she goes over,
Yeah,
the
actually
history
what-
of it
yep.
and X, Y, and Z,
And isn't as mean as bins is
and
about
isn't
it.
as mean as Binns and
was a-
yeah.
flag offy. She's very like, yep, this chamber was open. Yep, this is what happened.
can
Where
see why
Binns
you're
is like,
scared.
it's a
Yep.
fucking legacy. Like, take
Yep.
it with a grain of salt type
Yeah,
shit.
this is not a real
yeah,
thing.
we work
This
in
is a story.
facts here. Like
Yeah.
this is not
Yeah.
meant to be taken too seriously. And then he can see how like everyone's wrapped like totally into what he's saying, and he's not used to it. And he's like, "Well, let's get back to the lesson,"
Yeah, back to business.
And then everybody falls asleep again. So
The only other note I have for chapter 9 was Percy takes 5 points from his brother about being in the girls' bathroom.
Yep.
That's when we see the girls' bathroom now, they're getting introduced to that. This is where they're going to do the polyjuice potion.
Which is so funny because the polyjuice potion, that whole scene of them stealing it and whatnot is not in the
not
movies.
in the movie. I love
Hermione
that.
just
yeah.
knows it.
Yep.
They
And
don't talk about that. They're stealing it,
no,
No,
not at
no.
all.
Yeah.
And
and that she is like heading up the thievery.
literally,
Yeah, she's really come out of her shell this
rule
one.
breaking, yeah.
Yeah. She's like, all right, well, if we're going to frickin' do it, let's do it right,
Yep. Oh, and then she taunts him like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you
That's what-
not want to
Yeah.
figure out if Malfoy's the heir? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah.
Let's bring it all back."
She's,
Yeah.
Well, they've given her the itch now, so now
Yes.
she's like just as much, you
Yeah.
know.
Did you guys also get the vibe from Moaning Myrtle that she wasn't like as in love with Harry as they portrayed it in the movies?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
like, I don't
It wasn't
think
as
that,
obvious. Like she was
Yeah.
very flirty in the
in the movie,
movie.
she's like, Harry.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she says something later on about like, oh, I was gonna say like if you died, you could share my
you
toilet.
can share my
Okay,
toilet
that
with
yes.
me.
at the end.
Yeah.
Yes,
But,
but
like,
like even
throughout-
before that,
Yes.
she's like,
Mm-hmm.
I
I
brought
think-
up. Oh, sorry.
No.
That we see the spiders when they go back to investigate this scene where Mrs. Norris was. They find the spiders acting weird, and then we learn why Ron doesn't like spiders, and it's because his brother, turns his Teddy into a spider as a kid. Like,
Yep.
so it terrified
that's some
him.
fucking
Oh.
trauma right there,
Yeah.
man.
Because it's in the movie that he's fearful of
Fearful of
spiders.
spiders.
Yeah.
but
Oh,
we don't
yeah.
find out why.
Yeah,
Why?
he
Yeah.
just
Yep,
hates
it's because
spiders.
one of the twins was being a little shit.
I had dreams. That's what I had when I was a kid. Like where
I
I,
love
was like
spiders.
wrapped up and like
Oh,
a big one
spider?
was
Yikes.
like it was in the like
That's
top
night
bunk
terror.
of the bunk bed.
Yeah.
Like I had like multiple dreams where I was like tied up
in a web.
You know
In a
why?
web,
Okay, this is
and
for
a
the
spider
listeners.
was
Because Ross slept in a cocoon when he fell asleep. When he
so
fell
I probably
asleep,
felt yeah.
he wrapped himself
What do you
with
mean?
his blanket. He had a white and blue striped blanket that he would wrap. He would wrap it around the top of his head, so it literally looked like a sleeping bag like that you would wear on a cold mountain.
How
Right? And
did
he
you
just-
sleep like that?
And that's how he'd fall asleep.
Pretty good.
He's like,
Do you still do that?
No, Rachel won't let me. No, I'm just joking.
Well, yeah,
I
you'd have
actually the
to.
opposite
You'd have to have
now.
your own blanket to do it.
I'm the opposite now. I like to hang as much of myself out of the blanket
That's
as
me
possible.
too.
But I need to have a little bit of blanket on me yet. So
Yep,
I'll have
that's
like
me
a little
too.
bit on like the midriff, and then that's it.
Yep,
My
that's
legs
me
are
too.
out, my top half's out sometimes if it's really warm.
That's me too.
Yeah.
All right, so
The opposite.
If I ever
How did he grow out of
Wait,
that?
Probably because he
know,
was
that's what
dreaming
I
he was
was-
getting fucking
Yeah.
sucked
Yeah.
'Cause
alive
he
by
literally
spiders.
created his cocoon.
It
You
was
broke-
me.
you broke
I've always
free.
been the
You
problem.
You broke free, Ross. You became a butterfly. You
Yeah.
got out of your cocoon. You broke
a
free.
beautiful
Good
butterfly
job.
now.
You're no longer a caterpillar.
That's what. So, anything more for chapter 9?
God, you're standing on business today.
know.
I know. I think so. Let me just read my notes. Another example of Ron just getting pissed because the Slytherin house. He hears more about like Salazar's opinions from Professor Binns.
Yeah, about
on
the
Pure
mud, yeah,
Bloods.
pure bloods.
Yeah, and he straight up says he's like, if I was sorted in Slytherin, I would have gotten on the train and gone home. Like that's how passionate
Yeah.
this dude's about this.
Did we bring up how different we talked about the difference of like Binns talking about the chamber, but how she flat out says like it doesn't exist.
Yeah, she
and
said it
McGonagall
doesn't
is
exist.
just like this is what the lore
Yeah,
legend
yeah.
is. Okay,
Yeah.
carry on.
Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, I wrote the 5 points. Okay. Hermione brings up a plan with Polyjuice Potion to get info out of Malfoy. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. We've been there, done that. Got
Yeah,
it.
so all that. So they figure the Polyjuice Potion, and like you say, that's Hermione's like the forefront of leading this whole thing with the Polyjuice now. Like, hey, let's get this info. This is how we're gonna do it if you guys want to get it.
And ballsy to do it in
Ballsy,
Snape's
definitely.
fucking class.
Yep.
Man.
Yep. Professor, or chapter 10.
Sorry. One more thing.
One
This
more
is
thing
what
for
I meant
9?
to say. Ginny, there's little like drops of the fact that Ginny's just like consistently upset throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, just you see little things of her.
Right. And so when Ginny finds out about Mrs. Norris and her fate, she blanches,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
so
she's,
they like
upset.
yeah.
visibly.
Yep, throughout the whole book we see like the brothers
Yeah.
noticing her being upset and them trying to comfort her, thinking like, "Oh, she was just sick."
Yep.
Oh, she, like
Yep.
different things. This is her first year, so she's
First
struggling
year,
to see all
struggling,
this stuff.
Yep, yeah.
You don't realize the weight of like what's actually going on in her
Yeah,
head about, you
yep.
know. Yeah.
And also think about being a first year and coming into that.
Exactly.
She wasn't the only first year. I mean, there was a whole class, and they're dealing with literal, basically murders,
Yep.
blood written on the wall,
Yep.
thinking they're going there to be safe. That's scary shit,
Yeah.
Yeah,
man.
like she, especially her, has grown up with 5 siblings, 6 siblings, having gone before her, and so I know from Ross going to camp, and talking about how awesome camp was, and then I go and I'm like, fuck this. This is nothing like what they what he
They're
described.
amping
Yeah.
it up to
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and so I can only imagine she's like, this is wild, you guys.
Yeah,
Nobody
like-
mentioned
Yeah,
like,
this
who
sucks.
the fuck's enjoying this? Why do you
Exactly.
want to be head boy of this?
this exactly.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, but someone always almost dies every year until someone actually does die. That's like, Kind
Not
of the
before Harry.
yeah, but like even what the first book, who was the one that, Hermione almost dies with the troll. Then we see him almost die out in the woods. If it wasn't, so I mean,
Oh,
there's multiple
debatable.
times that one, it's always like an existential crisis at Hogwarts, and it's supposed to be the safest place in the wizarding world, and here we have, like,
He's the chosen one.
yeah. Well,
Now chapter 10.
chapter 10, Professor Lockhart acted out events from his books with Harry for class after the Pixie
Role-playing.
incident.
I love that. Okay, more like a werewolf, Harry.
Yeah, yeah, it's like,
Make Cloud howl now.
yeah, like, it's, like, and he has
creepy,
Harry
dude.
join him. Harry's the one that's always. Hermione got Lockhart's signature to get the book for the most potent potions. She mentions that in the movie, that she read it or whatever. That's how she knows how to do it. But we actually see her gaining the signature and getting it out of the restricted section of the library.
And then she wanted to keep it
Yeah, that's what's all
because
moldy.
it had
too,
because
I
it had
guess.
his autograph on
Oh,
it. The
because
note.
the note. Yeah,
she
you're
has
right.
to keep
yep.
the note.
Ron
Yeah.
knows and calls her out immediately.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
come on now,
Yeah.
bitch.
Yeah.
He's a fucking loser.
When I think he's always, you see where he cares, like, there's a little bit. I don't want to say jealousy because it didn't come off like jealousy per se.
No,
in
I
this.
noticed that too. Yeah.
Like it comes
Mhm.
off more like, come on, like
exactly.
you know.
Oh, you're like my mom.
He shows more jealousy later on when they're hitting more of that age where the dance comes, and that's in the fourth book. I think you really see that in the fourth movie. They did such a good job with the teenage awkwardness. That's about all they got right in that one. Was like that teenage awkwardness and the hair, like the hair.
Yeah.
Like I don't know whose choice was on that. Like that. Like it's just the fourth
What
movie.
the fuck's the haircut?
I
I had the
Uh,
biggest crush on Ron until movie 4.
movie 4 was just like
It's like in
where's-
his dress robes, especially with the long hair.
You look like
they
a
did that on
schmuck.
purpose
Yeah.
though. That was the whole point. Like this is the awkward phase of their life.
Not me in the
Yeah.
fourth one being like Hermione, Victor Crumb, and you're fucking worried about Ryan.
Yeah.
Get
I
the
know.
fuck out of
Ron,
here.
You've ruined everything.
She's like all upset. And I'd be like, deuces. Dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Bye, Ron.
Yeah.
I think we mentioned this before, but I think we really see it in chapter 10. Malfoy is a lot quicker witted with insults in the book.
Yeah,
and
he's
it's-
fucking
Yeah.
mean, man.
He gives Harry nicknames, cuts to the bone with his ridicule. At the Quidditch match, he calls Harry Scarhead. I just thought that was fun. Just Scarhead. You know, like it's like what a stupid but like perfect nickname for him. You know, like something that's he's obviously going to be insecure about, and that's what you're gonna, like it's you really see an edge on Malfoy more than you do in the movies. Even though he was played beautifully in the movies too. I think that actor did a great job. I read his book too. That was a very good book.
You see a lot more like discussing what to do with a rogue bludger
Yeah,
in the book too. Not
Yep.
like it's kind of a very quick thing, and they
Just
realize
attack.
that he deals with it on his own. But there's not
Yeah.
any like notice of any of the other teammates or like deciding what to do about it or whatever.
yeah. No, one the twins are looking out for his ass.
Yeah.
Like you really see that. They're like, no, we can't. We're taking care of Harry
This
here.
is
the-
where they
the
yell
seeker.
at Wood. Yeah.
You know, like
Yep.
you, like
It's
I
your
understand.
fault.
Yeah,
Like Harry wants to go back out there because
Yeah.
you fucking
because you're
said
pushing,
get
yeah,
the snitch or
yeah,
die. Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
and he's literally gonna
He's
die.
gonna die.
Yeah.
Like this is not something's not right. Call the match.
Yeah.
You know? And you can see like their competitiveness isn't there like Woods is. Like Woods like, no,
Yeah.
we're in it to win it. You know, and the twins are like, no, there is something wrong here. Like
Yeah,
this
we
is
need to
we've
help
never
Harry.
dealt with this.
Yep.
This thing is going after Harry. This
Mhm.
thing is bewitched or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so we see that, kind of pushed. And then I didn't realize it. I saw it this morning. It was on TV actually. On when I woke up, it was this scene exactly. But Dobby in the hospital wing the night that Harry regrows his bones. I did not remember that at all. Like
Yep.
and
Really?
now, yeah. But like seeing that scene and then, but I had that written down. But like I say, I saw that this morning and went, oh, apparently that did happen. And then like you say, the Skelligirl hitting himself in the head with it. So
Yeah.
now
So the bludger got Harry.
the bludger got Harry.
He gets the snitch still,
He gets the snitch
but
still.
Lockhart comes over. It's same as movie.
Yep.
Fucking removes
I was
his
gonna say
bones.
I haven't really like most of the things were the same as movie. I didn't write down because it was like,
Yeah.
all right, well, most of the things we're gonna cover are the differences here,
yeah.
but you still gotta fill in those gaps, I guess, so people know. You know.
Well,
what
my
I mean? Like-
dumbass didn't write chapters for the remainder of my notes, so
Oh, that's you're fine. Just go whenever it comes up.
Yeah.
bear with me.
Yes.
got-
So this is where Dobby. Yes. So he gets to the hospital wing. I
Yep.
think that they describe what Harry's arm looked like. I mean,
little
obviously in
better,
the
yeah.
movie
It's
you
like a
see that it's
glove.
like a rubber. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then when they're talking, it's almost I was picturing like Harry gagging and
Yeah,
like
and it, like,
because
how
it was
gross
so
it looked,
gross.
yeah.
And
We
I'm like,
all-
yeah. Oh god.
no. Yeah, so I think that we see once again, and that's in the movie. You see it, Lockhart's idiot like that.
Mhm.
I think that was one of the best scenes to take away of all the Lockhart. Like
He just pisses me
Instances.
off, dude.
this is a very obvious. I'm super confident. No, I suck. And like it's
But trying to save it after that.
yeah, yep.
Like, oh well, it doesn't
Well,
hurt,
it's
right?
yeah, yep, and like acting like he did it right.
That
still.
is some narcissistic
Yeah. Oh yeah.
shit
yep.
right there.
They knock it out of the park. I think like just the little bit that they did grab from the scenes from the book or whatever to do for the
Mhm.
movie. They picked the right ones that really drive home how
Idiotic.
idiotic he was and full of himself he was. What else we got here? Chapter 11.
No, Dobby admits to all the shit that he did to
Oh yeah.
Harry.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Yep.
And then they bring Colin in.
Yep.
He's petrified.
Colin's petrified, and then they open up the camera, it explodes. That's all like the movie.
The movie, yep.
Chapter 11, we got Hermione plans and executes a plan to steal ingredients for the Polyjuice potion.
Yeah, I have that where like she's like masterminding this whole situation, like breaking out
Yeah.
the rules.
Harry's the one that does the distraction. He throws a firework into Goyle's cauldron. Harry actually hears people talking about him being a parcel tongue and the heir of Slytherin. That's later, so I jumped way the hell ahead. So that's
I have a
jumping over the dueling and everything.
I have a note that I thought was funny that everybody's trying to like they're taking precautions against whoever the heir is going to be.
Yeah.
And Neville, like he was, like I don't know if there was like potions or like little like I'm picturing kind of rabbit foot luck type of charms that
yep.
the kids are starting.
Oh
to
yeah,
like,
he had
carry
like a
around.
fucking garlic necklace on or
Yeah,
something.
Yeah.
exactly. And then people are like, Neville, you're a pureblood. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm basically a squib though.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Like, yeah.
he laughed. at
Like
that.
I already fucking know what you
Yeah.
know. They're going after weaklings,
yeah.
okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and his parents got tortured. You know
Bad.
what I mean?
Bad.
Yeah.
To a point where he was raised by his grandmother.
Probably the worst
So,
torture.
Yeah.
I mean, his parents are the worst torture that they describe
Yep.
Voldemort doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why. So you see this kid
Heartbreaking.
now who is definitely like probably scared shitless because grandma. Well, I don't know. We don't really see how he was raised, but we're to assume that.
Yeah, Grandma don't
Scared.
play.
Yeah, he's
Grandma didn't
scared
play.
shitless
Yeah.
I know
of
she
it.
didn't.
Caution.
Yeah.
You
There's
know
a lot of
grandma didn't play.
caution there.
Yeah.
He's just like a nervous little.
Yeah, he is. He's
I
nervous
love
about
him.
everything.
Yep.
We got Harry. Oh, okay. Yep. That's so that goes into.
The only
We
other-
see the dueling match. That's
Yeah.
all to the movie.
Well, no, because you see they are all matched up.
Oh,
and you
all
see
matched.
things
Yep.
with different matches. Like
And
one
Neville-
where
You're
like Seamus apologizing for whatever was done. Hermione and Millicent were still moving. Millicent had Hermione in a headlock. Like you see,
Yep.
they paired them all up, and you see all of them dueling.
I
Yep.
think it's funny that Slytherin girl, Millicent, right?
Yeah.
He just puts Hermione in a headlock.
Yeah.
The wands are on the ground. They're not even like
We don't even
actually
need
like
magic.
doing it. It's
We're
like
just gonna
turns
I'm
physical
just gonna fuck
immediately.
you up.
Like, well, because probably Millicent knew like if
She
it
probably
came
couldn't
down
beat
to a
Hermione with magic.
wand duel,
Yeah.
Hermione's whooping
Hermione's
your
whooping
ass.
her ass.
Yeah.
So she
Yeah.
was a Slytherin.
Mhm.
She did what she needed to.
Yeah, she was a cheap,
That's what.
scrappy fuck.
Uppercut.
I mean,
real
it's,
quick.
they didn't say that you couldn't get physical.
See, that's that Slytherin
what-
way. That's the coward way out.
The
That's what-
cunning.
She's a Gryffindor.
Reading between the
brave.
lines.
So
Another thing was that Neville was the one Snape suggested against
Yeah.
showing a demonstration, not Ron. Like
yeah,
it's very clear, like, oh, Ron's wand causes devastation in the simplest of spells, Snape says. But
Yeah.
that's just the movie.
Yep.
The book is actually Lockhart says Neville and Harry. Is it Neville and Harry? Or Neville and somebody?
I think it's Neville and Ron. Is
Neville.
what Neville and Ron was going to be, and you got they point out the flaws in both of them. Well, the wand, and then Neville. Why don't we
Neville.
do Harry
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, I think that's how it went. I don't know, but I think that you see the snake come out like it was in the movie. You see all that happen the same. This is when we actually got to meet that character, Justin.
Yeah, but the
Finch
biggest thing with that
Fletchley.
is in the movie, I don't think they have a follow-up conversation about it. I think Harry just calls off the snake,
Yeah.
and
Well,
there's
he
not a
yells at-
follow-up.
What do you want?
But
he
there's
yells
not a
again.
follow-up conversation like there is in the Commons of just
Yeah,
of them
yep.
going, bro, what the fuck
Yeah.
were you
Right.
doing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there
yeah,
is.
like Justin wasn't even there.
Not
That was
with
just-
Justin,
it
though.
was
No,
the-
not with Justin.
Justin's
with-
there in the book
With
though.
Yeah.
With
With Ron.
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 With
Like,
Ron,
it
no,
sounded like
that's
you were
what you were
egging him
saying,
on.
and that's
Yeah.
where they
Right.
tell him that
No,
he was
and
speaking
with
Parseltongue.
Ron, yes, but that whole conversation in the Commons with Justin, that's
No.
not in the movie,
No.
and that's just one more piece that you get of Justin that I didn't even fucking know who he was till I reread.
No, and you don't see
He was a
him
fart in the wind.
in the movie.
Fart in the wind.
You don't see him in the movie get petrified either.
No,
You see nearly headless Nick, like
Yes.
all fucked up.
You
Yes.
see a kid laying on the ground, but I don't think you
I don't
put
know
two
if
and two
I don't-
together.
I went to
know
put
if
two
you,
and two
noticed that's
together.
Him.
Yeah,
No.
and I don't
I went
think
to put
did.
two and two together.
Yeah.
Well, then so after all this happens, Harry actually hears people saying they think he because it's parcel tongue. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Yeah.
now it's an even bigger connection to the heir of Slytherin, and now that they learned about the heir of Slytherin stuff,
And then Justin gets petrified shortly after.
Yep,
so it
Justin-
just points it just
yep,
points it even
yep.
farther because people think with the snake. I mean, I don't know if she did an okay job of this, but I feel like she could have done better on maybe Harry's feelings of being the one to blame.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel
Like you
book
don't
one-
feel like you really see him struggle with that. You
No.
kind of like he's kind of like,
well, he knows
like,
he's not the one to blame.
I know I'm not the one to blame. I'm not
well, he's
doing
had a
this.
whole lifetime of people blaming him for shit, so he's probably knows how to
But
roll
like
that shit
book
off.
one, he's devastated over
Yeah.
shit
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this.
Well, this is
he's
new
growing
people
a
he's trying
thick
to
skin,
impress.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he even when we're talking about the confrontation in the I think it was in the library is where Harry ended up finding the group of Hufflepuffs that were talking
Yes.
behind his back talking shit, and he decides he's going to confront them, and Ernie says he's giving him all these examples why they think he's the heir, and he's like, well, you hate the muggles that you live with, and Harry's like, well, that's impossible not to.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd
Like, come live with
hey,
them for a
yeah.
fucking week and then
Exactly.
tell
Why don't
me
you
you
try it
wouldn't.
out?
Yeah, you see Harry
Yeah.
kind of owning his story and being like, no, it's fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
I know, but
Yeah.
and standing up for himself a little bit in that regard.
Peeves is the
Yeah.
one that actually sees this. He's the one that first because Harry happens upon it, and then Peeves is the one that happens upon Harry happening upon it, and starts yelling at
Freaking out, yeah.
freaking
Yep.
out, and then
Yep.
Peeves later on
The
is
song.
singing songs about Harry being the heir of Slytherin, and like he's not helping matters at all.
No.
Is
He's
there like
When does
Potter
he
the
ever?
Rotter? What was he
Yeah.
singing? Like
Yeah.
so
Peeves
See,
just gives no
yeah,
fucks.
no, Peeves is all chaos. That's all he's just ADHD incarnate. Like it's funny to see, like I say, they omitted him, so whenever we do see him, it's amazing to see how they work him in on all that.
The mandrakes. This is when they're being fitted with scarves and socks.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, sorry,
That's-
gotta go. Can you just picture them all dressed up? And
Yeah.
they don't do that in the movie, I don't think.
No,
They
no,
don't,
you only see him the
show
one
see them
time.
again.
Yep.
Yeah.
How do
don't
you
see the
think
sh-
they?
trash.
What do you think they do with them to make the stuff they need to out of them?
They said they chop them up.
Yeah, exactly.
Shut the fuck up!
Yeah.
I thought it was their piss or something.
No, they chop
No,
them
they
up.
say right later on they chop. them
No,
up.
they didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way they mature is they start to grow pimples. They go through
Yeah.
You
puberty.
get to watch these things grow.
Yeah. And then when they know they're ready to be harvested and chopped up, it's when they start to try and sneak into each other's pots.
Yeah, so
That I heard.
Yeah.
What do they say in the book specifically? They chop the
They
ass
say they
up.
chop. Yep.
Yeah, yep.
They say chop. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't.
it's-
I don't like that.
That was something when I read it later on. It really the weight of that
I-
hit me like, oh wow,
The
They
2.0
just watch these
speed.
things grow from babies on,
Yeah.
and now they have to
Yeah.
they're just chopping them up.
The
To use
the
stuff.
2.0 audio speed had
Yeah.
me zip by that comment because
Yeah.
I would have
That's
cried.
Yeah. They're goners. I wonder if you can just leave them grow, if they're not harvested.
Yeah, if they would they get old like
Yeah,
an old
do they just
mandrake
keep
and stuff?
going?
Yeah, like with I think I saw a picture of one with a beard because I have different life stages when I'm reading the illustrated one,
Mhm.
and they show a specimen sheet on the mandrake, and it's pretty cool how they show it from the different stages of life and stuff
Yeah.
and different types. And I think one of them's an old looking one with a beard, so I probably can, but they probably have a ripeness and whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder how long they could live. There's probably a whole lore behind them that someone's made up on the internet. So I don't know. But I definitely think that I don't know, the mandrakes were such a more covered in the book here, and it makes it that much more
Well,
intense when you at the end.
I don't
it's
even know. I
"Yeah,
don't
we
have,
just chopped them up. and
I have
used
nothing
them
to
and-"
say for the remainder of the
Yeah, that's
podcast.
why it just shook, just completely
That's it.
shook.
Shooketh.
So let's wrap it up for this episode on chapter 12. Fred and George would go ahead of Harry in the hallway, shouting, "Make way for the heir of Slytherin." So they were just having fun with it at this point. I think they were helping Harry have fun with it at this point.
Yeah.
Because what else are you gonna do?
Yeah. Don't take this too
Yeah.
seriously.
Yep. The boys ask a Ravenclaw girl where their dorm was for Slytherin by accident. disguised as Crab and Goyle. So we see them actually take the Polyjuice potion, same as the book, or same as the movie.
One thing that really made me sad about that is the password for their painting being Mudblood.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
It was like a new password.
It
Yep.
was a new password. That's you think then that is that every Slytherin that has to use
Yep.
that? Like that's
including
so
their
sad.
head of house, who is
Who made that?
Who
their head of well, that's what
is
what
Snape a half blood?
Snape's. Yeah, he's a half-blood prince.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, Leah.
What
What just happened? I'm like, I have this feeling in my gut that he's like a half blood. Is that right?
Entire fucking
Like,
book
why do
about
I
it.
Why
It's
do I
this
think
intuition.
It's only
like,
my
I-
favorite one. It's only my favorite book too. Okay, Leah, get it.
Which was a
together.
big spoiler alert there.
Oh,
but
sorry.
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 This is definitely
Sorry.
for the
For
veterans.
the people who, yeah.
My bad.
We said in earlier episodes you can read it for the first time, but you're going to hear spoilers, whatever.
We
If
lied.
you don't know some of this shit by now and the Harry Potter has been out this long,
All the
it's
TikToks.
this yeah,
Exactly.
this isn't like what the hell was that movie again? With Bruce Willis, Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense.
Whoa.
I'm like the Fifth Sense.
You're
Wait,
thinking of the Fifth Element.
Fifth Element.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
one of my favorite movies.
So that was a movie that people did a great job not revealing the secrets. So what else we got in 12 here? Yeah, so we like I say, they do the Polyjuice potion. It's pretty much to the movie. They accidentally ask a Ravenclaw girl, which wasn't, it's just like, what? Don't you guys know how to get to your, area? Malfoy talks about Percy sneaking around a lot. So this is another time we hear a little bit we hear a little bit about Percy. We know Percy's up to something.
Well, and the way it's done, like the whole time, you just like he's like a slimy fuck. Like he's just always like
they're doing more than
lurking
kissing.
around.
yeah.
He's lurking around every corner.
And so Malfoy shows the boys a newspaper article as well, all about Mr. Weasley getting in trouble for the car and his trial that he had to whatever.
Harry feels like
Yep.
a bastard.
Malfoy doesn't even realize. He thinks this is Crabbe and Goyle. This is him just being him. This is what he does for fun.
Mhm.
Sits in, oh, look at this. Look at this. It's
Well, and
just
that's the funny
so-
thing. You almost think like, man, am I going to get a softer side of Malfoy?
Yeah, no.
with
Well, later you get a little bit.
No, but I'm saying now. You're
Yeah,
thinking, am I going to
yeah.
get a softer side with him just being with Crabbe and Goyle?
yeah,
Where he's going to be, but he's even a fucking asshole to them.
yeah, yep. No, they're subservient. That's the way the families are too. Just the Crabs and Goyles. Like the Lucius was looked at as one of the higher ups under Voldemort because of his wealth, because of his resources and his power that he had. So we see, because he was through the Ministry of Magic before Voldemort rose to power. I'm not sure if that's the case or not. I don't know. Because he's been in a position that he has. It was with Hogwarts, though. I'm trying to think what else his job was.
Lucius?
Lucius, yeah.
Ministry of
This is-
Magic, isn't
yeah,
he?
yeah, but like
he's on the
he-
council.
The council, yeah. But the council for the school?
They call it governors.
Yeah,
To me, it
it's
seems like a board.
Yeah,
a board,
board.
like the
Situation.
school board.
Like a school board. That's kind of what I always
He's on a
gathered.
school board, but a lot of time that's voted in. I mean, if you looked at like modern times, it's
Yeah.
voted in.
Yeah.
But
so-
if you have that much power and influence, well,
Yep.
do the math.
Well,
Well,
this is the
this is
1900s,
yeah,
so
this
they're
is
probably.
the 1990s.
1992.
Uh,
Don't say 1900s like it was fucking 50. No.
They didn't even have pens, like what?
no. We had the pens. We had the mechanical pencils. Everyone had those. We had the trolls
not
on
at
the
Hogwarts.
top. They didn't even have trolls on the top. They only had trolls in their dungeons. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that one. I'm gonna give credit to G Fuel on that. I drank a little bit. My brain's a little sharper right now.
I give my credit to Bush Light.
There you go. Malfoy. Let's wrap up on this one. Malfoy talks about a secret room at his house.
Yes.
The Malfoy Manor is filled with secrets. We heard about it earlier, and now this is confirming. and he's bragging about it.
There's a hidden chamber.
There's hidden chamber.
So,
There's
yeah.
Yep.
They learned that he wasn't the heir, but they didn't leave empty-handed. They got that
Nope,
bit of
they
information.
got that bit of information, so they were
Mhm.
able to later on that information comes in handy.
Here's
Is
the
there
thing.
anything else? With
Yes, because I have a feeling you're going to try and skip to 13, and
No,
I have,
don't. No, we're wrapping up after this.
I have.
For this one.
Oh, understood.
Well, and then going. We can. Yeah.
Okay, got it. I have 4 points. Here we go. Harry is taken to Dumbledore's office and left alone. So then he sees the Sorting Hat and
Yep.
puts it on again
And
to
asks it, yeah.
assess because he's starting to wonder if he is the heir.
Yep.
Once he learns he can speak parcel tongue, however you fucking pronounce it. He's like concerned because he knows he's the only one that knows that he was almost placed into Slytherin.
Yeah.
So it's like this thing between him and the hat, and he wants to sort it.
Sort.
Yeah, that's the
Pun
only
intended.
other note that I had for 12 is that he puts the Sorting Hat back on
Yep.
and like has a conversation.
And I'm realizing that the conversation must be in his head because once he takes it off, he continues talking to the hat, but the
Mhm.
hat is back to being just a hat.
Yep.
Which I thought was interesting. He also meets the phoenix that bursts into flame.
My
Yep, we
favorite
see that in the
character.
movie.
My favorite character.
But it's a little more described.
Yeah, like
it's the
yeah.
only reason I like the second one.
yeah,
Because of
Fox.
the
It's part of like
It's-
one of the parts that I giggle at in that movie too
Yeah.
because he's like panicking.
he's
It's like,
absolutely
oh, shit,
panicked.
Oh,
He just
shit.
caught fire.
Yeah, about time too.
About damn time.
Yeah, and Harry's at this point. Harry is questioning his entire existence.
Yeah,
Thinking maybe
yeah.
he is the one doing all this shit, and then the bird dies.
Like I'm the heir of Slytherin, and I just made a bird
I
set fucking
looked,
flames.
I looked at it. This is the whole thing, right? I made eye contact with the bird, and it
It's
killed
just
over.
lit on fire.
And Dumbledore's so chill about it too.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
yeah, about time.
He
No
does
biggie.
that.
yeah.
Yeah, it was
Um,
about time.
The second point I have is Hagrid bursting in, being the dad that he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like-
Is like, I will testify, like, he is not the heir, whatever. And Dumbledore's like, chill your
Got it.
grill, dude. Like,
Yeah,
we know. Hagrid's like, oh, I'll just wait outside then. Sorry.
But again, let me go full circle to Dumbledore being the fucking villain. You don't you don't think Dumbledore that also knew Hagrid was innocent back then?
yeah.
And he did nothing? He let him get kicked out. He X, Y, and Z.
He gave him a job there.
I don't give a
He,
fuck.
he
hit his
fixed his
wand.
wand.
He was.
There's
Not
good
enough.
too.
Not
He's-
enough.
he's
Not
just
enough.
too
Not
much.
enough.
I know.
He had more power and influence.
He wasn't the headmaster.
Great
though,
leaders
either.
will always be scrutinized.
He was the transformation.
Okay, 1 point for Dumbledore.
Okay. 50,000 points to
I
being
know.
a villain.
There's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 It's his first time living life too. All right. So,
Okay, wait. So the
He's
third-
900 years old.
I know
homeboy.
he's really old and has been through a lot.
So we talked about how in book one, Britt mentioned before, he's very aware and upset that he has like lost friends or like people are pissed at him, right? He's like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
for
shit."
sure.
So it does mention it once where he's the pariah again, and everyone is happy to go home for the holidays to get away from Harry, to
Yeah.
get away from the shit
Yeah.
that's going on. And Harry is actually glad that everyone's gone too because he doesn't have to like walk around with people giving him looks and like shying away from him and all this shit.
Yeah, he's starting to
Um,
feel it.
Right. And so that's when all of this is happening when they go is at Christmas time, right? And that's why they're able to go and talk to Malfoy. The other thing is a point of the Dursley sending him they send him a Christmas gift and it is a toothpick.
Yeah. Just
And
another
that's right.
little jab.
Right. And that's when they ask him to stay if
Stay
they could
summer.
spend the summer vacation at Hogwarts as well.
Dude, they're such assholes.
Yeah, well, and
Yeah.
that's just it's through and through. I think that's just how they were meant to be portrayed. You see way later on the little bit. One of my favorite things that got cut from the movie actually, but they did a scene of it was watching Dudley talk to him and be like, "Hey, look," like realizing like kind of the situation and telling him that he was, I don't know, kind
He
of
was abused his whole life. Yeah,
yeah,
Harry,
like realizing like, man, my parents treated you like shit.
and I did too.
And I did too.
Mhm.
And he owns up to it later on. And I think that's more in and you see, they didn't really leave it in the movie. I think they had so much going on those later ones, but it's a scene that you'll see on social media because it's such
It's when they have to move.
yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it shows like, hey, Dudley isn't a monster. Maybe he's starting to self-reflect now. anybody can do horrible shit and look at it back at it and be like, oh wow, I was a fucker, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, nature versus nurture.
Yep.
It's
yep.
what he was made into.
Yep.
You know?
So
You know,
was
and he
made-
realized that, and it was taken. Now there's a level of maturity there as he grew older to realize, hey, wow, I none of this was good for you, was it? it's-
like, damn, we did some
yeah,
damage.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. All right, so let's wrap it up here. Thank you guys for listening. We got through, what was it, chapters 7 through 12 now, I think, for this one.
It was
Yep.
like 6 through 12.
6 through 12. So I think we'll be able to do one more episode here for Chamber of Secrets and get through the last chapters. Thanks for coming and listening to this one, and tune in for part 3 of the Chamber of Secrets series, which will probably be episode 5. Thank you guys very much for listening. See you later.
Bye.